Before tanks, drones, or even gunpowder appeared on the battlefield, terror often took the form of a fierce creature with 4 powerful legs. Amid the clash of swords and the cries of warriors, a swift shadow raced across the fields of ancient Rome. It was muscular, agile, obedient, yet wildly aggressive. And it was neither man nor horse. This was the Canis Pugnax, the Roman war dog, bred for guarding, hunting, and fighting. The Canis Pugnax was never just a camp pet. It was a living weapon, trusted in the most desperate moments of battle. Sadly, its name is remembered by few today. Forgotten in history books, but never by the legionaries who relied on it with their lives. These dogs stood as loyal companions and protectors on the battlefield. To understand how such a deadly creation came to be, we must look back to the mountainous regions of Greece, where breeders raised these fearsome beasts of the ancient world. The very name Canis Pugnax translates from Latin as war dog, a fitting title. They possessed not only raw strength but also intelligence, enabling them to follow complex commands and fight in unison with soldiers. Training began from a young age, and only the finest specimens earned a place in the Roman legions. Stories of the Canis Pugnax bravery spread from soldier to soldier, while on the battlefield they struck fear into the hearts of Rome's enemies. Beyond war, they also served as skilled hunting partners, making them invaluable to Roman warriors. In remembering the Canis Pugnax, we see that even in ancient times, military strategy relied not only on men and steel, but also on loyal and courageous companions, creatures capable of changing the course of battle itself. This breed embodied the very essence of an animal that became a symbol of strength and courage on the battlefield. Their ability to fight, protect their masters, and obey complex commands made them indispensable allies of the Roman legionaries. These fearless creatures not only guarded their owners but also became skilled hunters, capable of pursuing prey over vast distances. In a world where survival depended on speed and strength, the Canis Pugnax became a living emblem of hope and loyalty. The breed emerged out of centuries of conflict, hunting, and sieges that shaped its destiny and left their mark on history. Its roots reach back to the ancient Greek Molossus, a powerful dog bred in the rugged mountains of Epirus, the region that today covers parts of Albania and northwestern Greece. These dogs were more than guardians of herds and property. They were loyal companions to their masters, invaluable in such unforgiving landscapes. Great thinkers like Aristotle and poets such as Virgil described them as true beasts. Though domesticated and loyal, their power was so immense that they were said to be capable of tearing the throat of a lion. The Romans, always keen to exploit the practical qualities of animals, saw in the Molossian dogs something unique, a raw diamond, waiting to be refined. They began importing them and crossbreeding with local and barbarian fighting dogs, striving to forge the perfect warrior, faster, fiercer, and more unpredictable. From this effort, the Canis Pugnax was born. Standing nearly 60 centimeters tall and weighing between 40 and 50 kilograms, these imposing animals were more than symbols of strength. They became the embodiment of a spirit that inspired Roman soldiers, giving them confidence in battle and loyalty in their darkest hours. They embodied loyalty and courage, becoming true legends of their age. Their thick, dark coats allowed them to melt silently into the shadows of night, while their deep, guttural growls struck terror into the hearts of all who heard them. This breed carried within it the natural instincts to guard territory with vigilance and to defend its masters with unshakable resolve. One could say it was the very definition of a gladiator dog. By the early 2nd century BC, Rome's public spectacles were undergoing a transformation. What had once been simple gladiatorial duels evolved into grand displays of orchestrated violence. And in this grim theater, the dogs, particularly the Canis Pugnax, claimed a role of terrifying importance. Trained to attack with ruthless precision, to ignore pain, and to lock onto the scent of blood, they were no longer viewed as loyal companions, but as merciless instruments of execution. In the arenas, they were unleashed against condemned criminals, defenseless prisoners, or pitted against exotic predators brought from distant lands. Towering lions, ferocious bears, massive wild boars, and other formidable beasts became their adversaries, heightening the spectacle and amplifying the dread. Before these battles, the dogs were deliberately starved for days to awaken a deeper savagery, transforming them into living weapons of war. And when at last the chains were loosed, the crowds erupted in a frenzy of anticipation and delight, eager to witness a spectacle that seared itself into memory. These were not mere fights. They were battles of life and death, merciless contests that evoked in the spectators a whirlwind of emotions. From fear to awe, from horror to admiration. The cruelty witnessed in the arena was no accident. It was the culmination of carefully crafted, meticulously staged spectacles designed to captivate and entertain the masses. Some dogs grew so renowned that they were given names, honored as four-legged gladiators whose courage and strength drew admiration from all. In the amphitheater, they were treated as living weapons, their roles clear and predetermined. Yet their true destiny had not yet been revealed. Soon, Rome began to realize that these remarkable animals could serve not only as entertainment for the people, but as soldiers, formidable allies on the battlefield. As the empire expanded, Rome waged wars across the known world, encountering a wide range of enemies and unexpected tactics. Among these, one strategy stood out: the use of war dogs by the Celts, the Cimbri, the Germans, and the Britons. These loyal beasts became inseparable from their warriors, showing unwavering devotion and a fearlessness that allowed them to fight alongside men as equals. Their presence could tilt the outcome of battles and alter the course of history itself. It was then that Rome began to recognize the true potential of these brave creatures, not just as performers, but as fighters for the glory of the empire. War dogs would hurl themselves into combat with terrifying, almost blind fury, charging with such force and determination that the very sight of them struck terror into enemy ranks. Leaping boldly over shields, they raked deep wounds into the legs of Roman legionaries, defending their masters with claws and fangs alike. The Romans quickly understood that such beasts posed a grave threat. In response, they resolved to breed monsters of their own. Thus began the refinement of the Canis Pugnax, crossbred with the fierce dogs of the so-called barbarians to increase their aggression, speed, and ferocity. Yet the true strength of the Romans lay not only in the physical might of their dogs, but in their unique approach to training. Unlike wild hounds that lunged at anything that moved, the Roman Canis Pugnax was taught to fight in unison with the Legionaries. These dogs not only obeyed commands but could also recognize their allies, standing firm even in the most chaotic moments of battle. On the field, they were ready to sacrifice themselves for their masters, becoming true guardians. In this way, the Canis Pugnax transformed from a mere animal into an essential component of Rome's deadly war machine, marching in formation alongside armed soldiers. Like any new recruit to the legion, each dog underwent a rigorous course of training designed to turn raw instinct into disciplined warfare. The first step was to teach them to distinguish the scent of their comrades, to recognize allies from enemies and respond only to specific commands, ignoring the chaos, noise, and provocation of battle. Each dog had to embody endurance and strength, refusing to retreat, falter, or hesitate at critical moments. This system of training was more than simple drills. It was an art form in itself, into which the Roman legionaries poured their skill and dedication, knowing that the outcome of a battle might depend upon it. Every Canis Pugnax became not just a weapon of war, but a loyal companion, ready at any moment to defend its master, fighting for his life, honor, and dignity. These faithful allies marched beside the soldiers, covering up to 35 kilometers a day. Often, they carried small packs strapped to their backs, filled with rations, important messages, or essential supplies for the campaign. At night, while the soldiers rested in camp, the dogs did more than sleep by their side. They stood guard, ever watchful, shielding their masters from sudden threats in the dark. They were true sentinels, warning of an approaching enemy long before human eyes could detect danger. In the fortified camps, known as castra, the Canis Pugnax fulfilled vital roles. They guarded the perimeter, protected food supplies, and even kept watch over prisoners in conflict-ridden regions such as Germania and Dacia. The presence of these dogs greatly enhanced the army's security, Their sharp senses and fearless behavior inspired confidence among the soldiers. The Canis Pugnax was not merely a savage creature, it became a loyal friend and indispensable ally, an inseparable part of the legion. These dogs lived, marched, and died alongside the soldiers, not only out of instinct, but out of loyalty forged in every battle. This bond between man and animal revealed itself as a force of extraordinary strength and spiritual closeness. Although official records rarely mention dogs in the chronicles of war, history between the lines reveals a very different picture. For example, during the Battle of Vercellae in 101 BCE, the Cimbri employed fierce dogs to defend their camps. These brave animals fought to the very end, displaying unimaginable courage and resilience, unshaken even by the deaths of their masters. They endured more than many soldiers, holding their ground until they too fell, leaving behind a legacy of fearless friendship and devotion. Each one was not just a guardian but a living symbol of honor and bravery, forever etched into the brotherhood of war. The image of these loyal animals, biting, defending fortifications, and finally collapsing pierced by spears, remained engraved in Roman memory. During Julius Caesar's campaigns in Gaul and Britain, chronicles mention guard dogs employed by hostile tribes. Rome's response was simple yet decisive: adopt them, train them, and integrate them into their own ranks. From that moment on, dogs of this breed became indispensable companions of Roman detachments, especially in dangerous and hostile regions such as Germania, Thrace, and Illyria. These lands were defined by their treacherous terrain, and every soldier had to remain constantly alert, ready for sudden attacks by the enemy. There are even visual records, such as the sculptures on the column of Marcus Aurelius, where dogs are shown alongside legionaries. Their exact role, whether tracking, guarding, or attacking, is not clearly defined. Yet their presence on the battlefield was never symbolic. It carried a direct, practical, and tactical purpose. These dogs were not weapons of mass destruction like catapults, but they became precise and effective instruments in situations where fear, darkness, or ambushes demanded sharper senses than the human eye could provide. Despite their strength, courage, and battlefield efficiency, the Canis Pugnax never received the same recognition as war horses, generals, or mechanical inventions of warfare. Their role remained in the shadows, though they were a vital part of military strategy and tactics. Loyal helpers on the battlefield, these devoted creatures not only contributed to Roman victories but also came to embody the spirit of loyalty and courage, mirroring the Roman legionaries who fought shoulder to shoulder with them. Every time the Roman legions marched into battle, they knew that by their side stood not just animals, but true defenders, ready to give their lives for the sake of victory. These loyal companions deserve to be remembered and spoken of, for their contribution to Rome's military campaigns was nothing short of invaluable. Sadly, only a handful of written sources have survived, and not a single chronicle or military treatise gives this fascinating and important subject the attention it truly deserves. But that does not mean their presence went unnoticed by those who mattered most, the soldiers. Many legionaries treated their dogs with far greater respect than their own slaves. These faithful companions were given special rations of the finest food and received medical care when needed. In rare cases, the dogs were even granted burials with tombstones and inscriptions, as if they were true members of the family, an illustration of the deep bond between man and his loyal companion. For retired veterans, it was common to return to their native villages accompanied by a Canis Pugnax, the majestic dog that symbolized their military deeds and glory. These dogs were far more than animals. They were comrades in arms who shared with legionaries all the hardships of long campaigns. As centuries passed, and as the empire transformed and the art of war evolved, the bloodline of these dogs began to fade, either through crossbreeding with other types or disappearing altogether due to changes in military tactics. Yet, traces of their greatness endured in modern breeds, such as the Neapolitan Mastiff, which still carry fragments of the character and genetics of those disciplined war dogs that once stood alongside Caesar's legions. Now that you've uncovered the fascinating story of this extraordinary creature, ask yourself, does not the Canis Pugnax deserve an honored place among the heroes of Rome? These dogs were not merely participants in battles, they embodied loyalty, courage, and resilience, making them an inseparable part of the history of the mighty Roman army. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and share it with friends who are also passionate about the history of ancient civilizations. Let your knowledge be your weapon in thrilling debates and discussions. And if you'd like to dive even deeper into history and discover the 10 most famous gladiators of ancient Rome, simply click the subscribe button. We'll meet again in the next story, where you'll encounter many new breathtaking events and astonishing adventures. Prepare to immerse yourself in a world filled with intrigue, powerful narratives, and unforgettable characters that will leave a lasting impression. Don't miss this unique opportunity to learn something both new and captivating. Each of our episodes is a chance to touch history itself and uncover its secrets. We are certain you'll enjoy the journey, and we look forward to seeing you again.